Story 1. When someone overshares every detail of their perfect relationship on social media, 9 out of 10 times it is a disaster. Story 2. If someone starts criticizing others for no good reason or talks about others behind their back, or complains about everything and everyone, they are unlikely to say anything positive about me and likely won't think anything positive either. Such a person might appear to be a friend to someone's face, but they are not a real friend. They often look for things to criticize in anyone and anything that intimidates them instead of reflecting on themselves or looking for the best in others. I cannot trust people who do not have anything good to say about anyone or anything to have my best interests at heart. Story 3. When I barely know someone and they criticize me, it raises a major concern. Story 4. Someone saying, "I am a nice person," raises a red flag for me. I have never met an actual nice person who would say those words. Someone who is genuinely nice would not need to reaffirm it. Story 5. Acknowledge a flaw they have that significantly impacts themselves and others, yet they do not make any effort to change it. It's just who I am. Story 6. People who always blame others for their problems never take responsibility. Nothing is ever their fault. Anyone who owns their own pool cue. Story 7. They keep changing their stories or their stories don't match with what they said previously, which makes them seem suspicious. Story 8. When someone says, "I don't want to hurt you," repeatedly, it feels as if they know they will but are only justifying themselves. In most cases, they do. Story 9. If someone who dislikes me suddenly wants to be my friend, that feels suspicious. Story 10. Two-faced individuals create trouble for others while smiling at their faces. It is one thing to tolerate someone you dislike for the sake of politeness. However, attempting to rally people against that person is an entirely different level of betrayal. Story 11. When they speak negatively about others in your presence, you can be certain that they will speak about you in the same way. Story 12. Making charity activities their entire personality is a form of virtue signaling. Every social media post is about a charity marathon, event, or sponsored activity. Giving to charities is commendable, but publicly announcing charitable contributions can seem suspect based on my experiences. Every person I knew who did this was abusive or manipulative behind the scenes. Story 13. If they share their unpleasant secrets about someone else, they will likely make things up about you as well. Story 14. My boyfriend, soon to be my ex, told me for 9 months that his ex was a narcissist and psychopath. He endured so much trauma and has 3 kids with her. Suddenly, he changed his story and now they get along as friends. I question everything he said about her. He played me well, and now he wants me to understand and respect their relationship as friends. A couple of months ago, he used to say he couldn't be close to her. Story 15. When pets don't like someone, they often have a good reason. My cat has always been right about people. Took me years to realize this. Story 16. When they are excessively nice, positive, and never admit to things they have done wrong, I know deep down they are not good people. Story 17. I'm not biased, but the energy people usually radiate is enough to give a hint of who you have to deal with. Additionally, something is wrong when they struggle to admit their faults or when they believe the world revolves around them, indicating a large ego and a lack of compassion. Story 18. When I catch someone by chance in a small lie, I wonder why they felt the need to lie about something insignificant. Story 19. The way they respond to small inconveniences matters. I was dating a guy who completely lost it when a store closed 5 minutes early. If you can't handle tiny setbacks with grace, I don't trust you with bigger issues. Story 20. Avoiding the most basic questions. What's your favorite color? I don't know, what's yours? Purple. I like purple too. Well, what's your favorite drink? I don't know, what's yours? Milk tea with boba. I like that too. It turns out they didn't even know how to brew tea, so that was a lie. Well, what's your favorite dinosaur? I don't know, what's yours? Brachiosaurus. I like that too. Why are they so afraid of offending me by saying they like Triceratops instead? Story 21. Anyone who lacks the courage to end a bad relationship but complains about it at every opportunity. I empathize with you, But seriously? Story 22. When strangers have ample access to you because they are hacking your electronics and watching you, they may attempt to involve you in matters that do not concern you. They provide commentary on what you say or write as if they are not the perpetrators. Moreover, they do not explain why you are in that situation in the first place. Story 23. When they offer to buy my car without seeing it while they are deployed overseas and wish to use PayPal. Story 24. When they use phrases like, honestly, or to tell the truth, or they speak negatively about someone you thought they liked. Story 25. If they speak highly of themselves, it's one thing to be confident, but if they talk about themselves as if they are some sort of fantasy, I can't trust them. Story 26. When they squint and look around, especially if they have a mustache and pull on it. It is even more pronounced if they pull on a mustache when they don't have one. Story 27. When they don't like animals, and when they prefer dogs over cats because they can control them. Story 28. Cutting off others when they express their wants and complaining when they do not get their way, along with the statement everyone leaves me at some point, is concerning. Story 29. They always talk about themselves and never seem to run out of positive things to say. They constantly discuss their problems and complain, often holding an alcoholic beverage. They justify their actions even when they are wrong and never admit to being wrong. Story 30. When someone you barely know starts speaking to you as if they are your best friend, it feels manipulative, like a sales tactic. Story 31. When strangers compliment me, I honestly think they are either trying to distract me while someone else takes my bag or phone, or they are somehow making fun of me. Story 32. Too friendly. Almost anyone who is that friendly wants something from you. I know two people who are incredibly friendly. However, you can tell that one of them truly means it and loves everyone, while the other is in sales and it is all an act. Story 33. When they stabbed me, Poppy always said, "You have to wonder what is running through someone's mind when they are running you through with a blade." Wise words. Story 34. When we've just met and someone buys me something, especially an alcoholic beverage or a perfume, it feels quite bold to gift those items without knowing the person's personal tastes. I feel this way because the last 2 times someone bought me something unexpectedly upon first meeting, one was my husband's ex who was trying to ingratiate herself. The other was an ex-girlfriend of my current husband, and we had only met about half an hour prior. I trust no gifts. Story 35. Being overly obsessed with nationalities instead of cultures is something I have heard several times from both sides. I need a German or Japanese partner. Okay, but why not a Dutch or Korean one? What is your true intention there? Story 36. I understand it is challenging, but a person's eyes can reveal their state of consciousness, and from that you can uncover the truth. Story 37. They are wearing pants and a shirt with horizontal black and white stripes, a black cape, and a black mask covering their eyes. A large bag of hamburgers and cheeseburgers is slung over their shoulder. Something about this gives me the gut feeling that they are up to no good. Story 38. I have 2 friends who are related, and I have spent more time with them over the past year than usual. Deeper conversations have emerged, including discussions about emergency preparedness, purchasing weapons with the intent to harm anyone who approaches their homes. They claim to be financially struggling while suggesting shared investments, only for it to later come out that they have significant money but refuse to use it. They leverage our friendship to the fullest while putting in minimal effort. Story 39. Calling themselves moderate. How can you be in the middle in this day and age? It is a coward's position. Choose a side. Story 40. If they are standing on the ground at all, moving or holding still, zero trust is warranted. Red flags are everywhere. Another clear indicator is breathing. If they are breathing, that is a dead giveaway. Story 41. When they act differently toward me in a negative way but are friendly toward others, it usually indicates that they do not like me for some reason. It is a double standard. Story 42. When someone says, "I don't like dogs," and their phone is at 100% battery, what kind of psychopath energy is that? Story 43. When they withdraw and shut you out for a period, then suddenly become pleasant and express interest in superficial topics that feel out of character, something is not right. They are planning something and want to catch you off guard. Story 44. For me, it's always a sideways, fidgety look. I notice something off when you meet someone and they don't give you a quick, direct look in the eye. I've seen this in doctors when they have bad news, and I've experienced it when people were talking about me as I entered a room. I've even noticed this with my children when they did something they knew I wouldn't like. However, the creepiest instance that puts me immediately on guard is when this happens while shopping or walking. Story 45. Well, if I saw someone sprinting down the street holding a knife with 5 police cars chasing them, I might be a bit suspicious. Story 46. Smile, say what you want to hear, but really, they are not being truthful. Did you complete the task? Yes, I did. Story 47. Nothing really. I'm relatively confident I'll detect anything malicious in advance. Either that or I will brush it off. Story 48. Oh, I'm always suspicious. Unless we're friends, I'll always think you have some horrible plan to hurt me. Story 49. Being nice in a specific way that I cannot quite describe, but can always sense, almost always turns out to be a facade for a nasty person underneath. Story 50. I trust no one but myself, and I always question the motives of those around me. I wouldn't share anything I wouldn't say in public. Story 51. They like to talk about themselves whenever given the opportunity, resembling a one-sided conversation. Story 52. They cannot communicate clearly. How am I supposed to trust someone I cannot fully understand and connect with? Story 53. No eye contact, a limp handshake, interrupting others, and always looking around the room in intimate company. Story 54. When they say my name often, especially when they don't know me, it feels awkward and forced. I haven't said my boyfriend's name in over a year, and we share a bed. Why do you insist on calling me by my name? It seems unnecessary. Hey, Jason, what are you doing today? Is the same as, hey, what are you doing today? Adding the first name feels manipulative. Story 55. When describing their jobs, they often include entrepreneur. More often than not, it is a multi-level marketing side hustle. Story 56. People who are extremely scared of bugs and animals, such as those who scream at the sight of the smallest insect, often enjoy gossiping and spreading rumors passionately. Story 57. When something they do reminds me of someone I dislike who does the same thing, or when they seem too good to be true. Story 58. Well, since you mentioned instantly, are you referring to the look in their eyes, their facial expressions, how they talk, or their overall behavior? Story 59. When I'm speaking to someone and I notice dirt in their nails, unless they work in railway services or maybe plumbing, it puts me off a bit. Story 60. When people exhibit highly narcissistic behavior, such as gaslighting, an inability to accept being wrong, constant criticism of your life without offering assistance, being intrusive, stalking, and speaking negatively about you behind your back, it can be deeply harmful. Story 61. Flaunting wealth, money, and status. I wish I had seen it as a red flag with my ex-wife. She would meet someone or I would introduce her to a family member, and within 10 minutes, it would be, I lived next door to Scottie Pippen, my first car was a Maserati, or I received my first American Express black card at 17. Now she's 35, and her parents are still confused about why she has never had a job in her adult life. Story 62. When a person you have just met recently shares his woes or difficulties, particularly financial ones, rest assured a scam is just around the corner. Story 63. When you share something good that has happened to you and they respond with silence or criticism, offering nothing positive to say. Story 64. They do the shifty eye thing when they narrow their eyes and quickly look left and right, often while looking through eye holes in a newspaper. Story 65. Trying too hard to be liked and fit in with many people in a new setting can be challenging. It's as if you change your entire joking style from person to person while navigating a party, making it seem like a different person is engaging with everyone in the room. There is something insincere and inauthentic about it, as if you are trying to sell something. Story 66. They have a story for everything that is just as good as or better than the one you are telling. Story 67. Excessive public displays of affection, discussing their status as a strong Christian, praising Donald Trump, and gossiping about others. Story 68. People who always try to find the silver lining or spin something into a positive, no matter how objectively negative it is, signals someone who isn't capable of sitting with discomfort or facing reality. That's not real optimism. It's avoidance disguised as positivity. Story 69. When they use their religion to gain your trust or to prove their honesty, it raises a major red flag, making me significantly more suspicious of them. Story 70. When someone has an opinion and then changes it, but claims they always held the new opinion when asked why they shifted their belief. Story 71. People who are overly friendly and invade your personal space, even after just a brief acquaintance, suddenly seem very interested in you and have relatable topics to discuss. Story 72. When they have so little compassion as to never glimpse the horrific nature of their notions about the billions of humans who are unsaved and suffering while they themselves sing joyfully to their God. One must be suspicious about the definition of the word love they have in their minds. Story 73. If a stranger approaches me on the street and starts a conversation, it's important to consider the context since I'm from a large city. Story 74. When they constantly talk poorly about others behind their backs, it makes you wonder what they say when you are not around. Story 75. When someone is overly interested in my daily schedule and routines, it can be uncomfortable. I had a coworker who constantly asked where I lived, what time I left work, and which gym I attended. Story 76. People who insist on talking and engaging with others when those individuals clearly do not wish to do so. Essentially, individuals who feel the need to compel others into interacting with them. Story 77. They smile excessively when they see me and try to be kind. I don't trust people who smile too much. Story 78. Talking negatively about another person whom you barely know is usually problematic. Additionally, being overly ambitious can lead these individuals to betray you. Story 79. People who dislike cats confuse me. I understand not liking an animal, but to hate them is a red flag. Additionally, people who shoo or kick at cats to make them leave are concerning. If you are allergic, that is understandable. However, there are kinder ways to encourage a cat to move away than shooing or kicking them. Story 80. What doesn't? I'm extremely paranoid except for very few people I consider close. I always have a possibility of distrust toward anyone else. Before you think it's sad, it's not. I just don't care and I don't have time for people's politics and games. I have goals to reach in life and I keep my focus there. People are secondary. Story 81. I feel a strange sensation when I see people who frequently post pictures and videos of their children. I'm not sure why, but it seems unsettling to me. Story 82. Someone being too nice can make you wonder what they are trying to cover up. Or when someone comes on too strong, especially if they are attractive. If I'm a heart 7 and you're a 9, why are you approaching me so intensely? There is often an underlying motivation. Story 83. Cigarettes. I saw someone light one up on a hike, and then he gave me advice on which trail to take. I chose the opposite one. Story 84. If my dog doesn't like them, he is extremely intelligent and good-natured, and I trust his opinion of people. Story 85. When they don't have custody of their children at all and they don't care, it raises instant suspicion. Could be mothers or fathers. It doesn't matter. It gives me a feeling of discomfort. Story 86. In my experience, if grown adults visit Disneyland, especially with older children or adult offspring, it often indicates that their marriage is struggling and one or both partners may be unfaithful. Story 87. When they keep accusing people of being evil and adding, if I went through that, the Illuminati did that a lot. Story 88. When someone starts listing their accolades without context or creates context just to list them, it indicates a self-centered attitude. This approach makes it difficult to connect, as the interaction becomes one-sided. Story 89. This has been proven repeatedly from my own experience. Anyone who turns off read receipts on WhatsApp is a red flag. Why does it matter if I can see you have read my message? Story 90. Those who don't like cheese are understandable if they can't eat it. However, I have never met a trustworthy cheese disliker. Story 91. This is a strange one, and maybe just a pet peeve. When known acquaintances visit my home for the first time and start picking up items and rummaging through my possessions as if they were shopping, I become suspicious. I have noticed a correlation where people who behave this way tend to have boundary issues, and it can be exhausting, as they often do not accept no for an answer. Story 92. I heard this a long time ago before reporting to my first unit after basic training. Always be suspicious of the first person who wants to befriend you on the first day. It turned out that the first person who wanted to be my friend was irresponsible. Since then, I have taken that motto with me everywhere I go, and so far it has worked out well. Story 93. When they slam things like doors, cabinets, and laptops, especially if they do not seem to notice they are doing it. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.